So as of November 3rd, Invincible, one of the greatest shows of 2021, will be making its long-awaited return, and I cannot wait. If you've been living under a rock these past few years and don't know about, or perhaps have forgotten about this sensational show, then
maybe this time you'll learn.
Invincible is a show based on a comic book made by Robert Kirkman, who created one of the most famous and renowned shows known as The Walking Dead. Invincible centers around Mark Grayson, a half-human, half-alien hybrid whose father is a widely known superhero known as Omni-Man. At first glance, Omni-Man is essentially the Superman equivalent of this world. He hails from a planet called Viltrum and claims he was sent there to protect Earth. Mark wants nothing more than to be just like his dad, to have powers, be a hero, and live up to his legacy. For a moment, all seems lost when Mark nears his 18th birthday with no powers in sight, until he throws a trash bag at work that goes across the globe and lands on another continent. The show seems to be like a typical coming-of-age story at first, with a simple layout. Kid suddenly gains powers, has to learn to master these powers so they can protect and save the world, while simultaneously trying to live a normal life and have regular relationships and graduate high school. I remember when I first started watching Invincible, I thought it was entertaining. Nothing groundbreaking, but something that would be fun to watch in the meantime. But then I saw the ending scene, and my jaw dropped. The amount of violence and brutality that was dished out in Season 1 was astonishing. Each episode had me hooked. The stakes kept getting raised, and it even got to the point where I didn't want to wait a week for the next episode to be released, and even went on to find the comics so I could read them. And I just have to say, the comics are S tier. Invincible is a really good show that goes against the grain of what a typical superhero world could be like. If heroes are supposed to represent hope, then I think Invincible is like the fight for hope. It's displayed in the sheer brutality of some of these scenes, where you just wonder what's going to happen next and if they're really going to make it out alive because things just seem so hopeless. Mark's struggle to be a hero really captivates you, and I feel like you can't help but root for him. Sure, every other episode Mark gets pummeled and you really start questioning why he even calls himself invincible when he seems to be the most vulnerable person on the screen, but being invincible isn't just tied to strength alone. It's about having the power to get back up again no matter what. Mark has so many moments where you think he just stopped, but no, he keeps going even when it's clear he has no chance. His body breaks, but his will does not. That's what makes him invincible. His desire to overcome and persevere. But we've only scratched the surface of Mark's story, and with Season 2 on the horizon, we'll be entering a really dark time of Mark's life. And I can already tell you, things are only going to get darker from here, and seeing Mark struggle to overcome once again is going to be the highlight of this series. Season 2 is most likely going to pick up fresh off the ending of Season 1, after Omni-Man exposed himself not as a hero, but a liar, fraud, and murderer. He was never sent to Earth to protect it, he was sent there to weaken and conquer it, which is why he killed the Guardians of the Globe and tried to recruit Mark. Of course, Mark resists, and Omni-Man beats him within an inch of his life, only stopping when confronted with the truth that his years on Earth have changed him, softened him, and he truly does love his son and his wife. He leaves the planet and the fight is over, but it's far from peaceful. The world, at least a portion of it, is in shambles. He's killed the world's greatest heroes and left so many lives destroyed through this fight with his son. The start of Season 2 is most likely going to deal with the aftermath and fallout of Omni-Man's betrayal to the world trying to pick itself back up and rebuild after such a catastrophe. But that isn't the only thing that needs rebuilding. Mark's life has been upended, with the realization that his father was a monster and he didn't even know him.
My time here has been a speck in the span of my life. You don't know me.
He's traumatized by what happened and is also struggling to find the way forward while also taking care of his mom, who also has to deal with the knowledge and trauma that her husband wasn't the man she believed in for 20 years, compounded by the fact that he seemingly never loved her.
I do love your mother, but she's more like a pet to me.
Mark's world seems to be teetering on the edge, and now he seems to be grappling with his identity. In the trailer for Season 2, he states that he wanted to be just like his dad ever since he was a kid, and now he's afraid that he may turn into him without even knowing. Already, we're being hit with some pretty relatable stuff. As a young adult trying to make your way in the world and being unsure of the person you want to be and who you could become. The fear some of us have of turning into our parents and repeating mistakes because of traumas and fears that we've developed. It doesn't help that it seems like the world has potentially turned against Mark, with people saying that his powers don't make him a hero, they make him dangerous. which is kinda true for everyone with powers if we're being honest. Omni-Man just happened to be raised in a fascist, militaristic, warmongering society where blood and death was all they knew. But in truth, anyone on Earth could be a villain if they wanted to. Rexplode, Robot, even Adam Eve, who would honestly be terrifying as a villain given her ability to manipulate atoms at will. Especially after what we saw in that Adam Eve special episode.
I see it all now. Every single molecule around us. I can touch them, taste them, control them.
I swear, one bad day and everybody's screwed. And honestly, that concept isn't too far-fetched after what was said in the trailer. In the trailer, we see a guy whose name is Angstrom Levy. And when I say this man is pivotal to Invincible, I mean it. Angstrom is essential to the story, but I'm not going to get too deep into why at the moment. But for now, I will say, in the trailer, he reveals that he can see and access any and every alternate dimension out there. Dimensions where there is no life. Dimensions where Earth is only populated by women. Or perhaps a dimension where everyone, our beloved heroes, are actually all villains. And many, many more. Mark seems to be getting much more cocky and sure of himself. We even see him crack a grin while fighting the Immortal. The Immortal says he's acting just like his dad, so perhaps Mark is starting to embrace his Viltrumite heritage a bit more now than he did before.
I was wrong to raise you as a human. You're a Viltrumite in blood only.
Perhaps the jabs life has been constantly throwing at Mark have finally started to change him for the worse. I mean, we even see Mark at the end of the trailer seemingly trying to take over the world. But most people have already noticed this is probably a misdirect, and there are clues to support that. Like in the trailer, you see this guy called the Shapesmith, who can transform his body to look like anyone. To most people, he's a new character, but technically, you've already seen this guy in Season 1. In Episode 3, when they leave Mars, you may have noticed that one of the astronaut suits seems to change shape. The Martian people have the ability to change their shapes at will, however they desire, like the Shapesmith does. And that's who the Shapesmith really is. He's a Martian, not a man, and he can look like anyone he so desires. With that knowledge in mind, and the fact that he snuck on Earth, it's possible to consider that maybe the Mark we see at the end isn't our Mark. It could be a shapeshifter, the Shapesmith, who transformed into his body to look like him. Or maybe it isn't, because there are other possibilities here as well. For example, Angstrom Levy says that he has the power to see and access alternate dimensions. We see Mark getting attacked by what seems to be Adam Eve's powers, and briefly in the trailer, we see what looks like to be an alternate version of the Teen Team. Adam Eve, who looks more rugged and punk with a shaved head. Robot, who seems to be in a portable tank instead of Rex's body. So perhaps the Mark we see at the end of the trailer isn't our Mark or a shapeshifter. Perhaps the whole time we'd be looking at a Mark from a different dimension who possibly sided with his father. Maybe that's why he seems so cocky, because this is a different version of him entirely. Some of you may think, oh, he's light spoiling, but if we're being honest, you can pick this stuff up yourself just by watching the trailer. They're kind of throwing it at you. But even so, who knows what they'll change in the show? They can fake all of us out if they want to, and like I said, we're only scratching the surface of Mark's story. And it's gearing up to be heavy. Also, if you paid attention to the trailer, you'll see Mark punch a guy in the face. If you pay attention to his clothes and compare some of the scenes in Season 1, it seems like Mark is going toe-to-toe with another Viltrumite. Hopefully, Mark's been hitting the intergalactic gym, because if this guy is anywhere near as strong as his dad, he may be screwed. But I, for one, am looking forward to Season 2 of Invincible and seeing how Mark deals with the fallout of his father's betrayal. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you next time.